You're watching News Central now on News Central Television. I'm Dashen, Usman. The top stories this hour. IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu plans to appeal dismissal of his 1 billion naira rights violation suit against the federal government. Ministers and their deputies in President Ramaphosa's cabinet to be sworn in South Africa. Rights group says 39 persons were killed during tax hike demonstration in Kenya. Details of these stories and more shortly. News Central now begins at this hour with court matters where the Federal High Court in Abuja dismissed Nnamdi Kanu's fundamental rights suit against the federal government on Monday. Justice James Omotosho ruled the case lacked merit, stating Kanu failed to provide evidence that the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Department of State Services and its Director General violated his rights. Kanu's lawyer, Aloy Ajimako, announced plans to appeal. Kanu claimed the DSS prevented his lawyers from having unrestricted access to him, eavesdropped on conversations, and did not allow note-taking during pre-trial meetings, which he argued breached his rights to a fair hearing. Justice Omotosho found Kanu's evidence insufficient. Kanu, on trial since 2015, was rearrested in Kenya in 2021 after fleeing Nigeria in 2017. Earlier, a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst, Towo Oseruoja, spoke to us on this development.
The allegation by Nnamdi Kanu is not far from the truth because as a practicing lawyer and someone who had experience and who had carried out a lot of fundamental right cases, you know that these are issues that occur in the law enforcement agencies domain. Even though the law made it clear, if you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, Section 36, which talks about the right to fair hearing, stipulates the grounds upon which the role lawyers play or the role a suspect, though is no longer a suspect, is a defendant in the matter, but is also entitled to the constitutional rights. The constitutional rights stipulate in the Constitution. And if you also look at Section 6 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, which is binding in these proceedings, they also stated conditions in which a suspect, or in this case now is a defendant, can make a statement or interact with his legal practitioner, with his lawyer, which is the legal practitioner. But these are things that are going and are of concern. If you look at the allegation contained in that process, it's something that should be worrisome to the Nigeria Justice Reform Commission, the Nigeria Bar Association, and also the Human Rights Commission, because these are things that are happening and nobody can deny it.
Away from that, the Federal Road Safety Corps, Kano Sector Command, has confirmed the death of 25 travelers and injury of 53 others in an early morning auto crash in the Dangwaro International Market in the metropolitan area of Kano City. The State Sector Commander, Ibrahim Abdullahi, confirmed the incident in a statement on Monday in Kano. The travelers were said to have been loaded in a trailer which also carried cows heading to the south from Maiduguri. However, the trailer collided with another vehicle and somersaulted. The sector commander said the accident occurred as a result of excessive speed, dangerous driving, and overloading, which led to loss of control. He warned motorists against unsafe practices of transporting animals, goods, along with human beings. We now head to Borno State, where Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shatima says the death toll from the multiple suicide bomb attacks in the northeastern Nigerian town of Gwoza over the weekend has risen to 32. Shatima made this known after visiting the State Specialist Hospital in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, where some of the wounded were being treated. News Central's Umari Kirawa completes the report.
The pain of the multiple Gwoza bomb explosions still lingers as patients struggle to survive the brunt of the heinous act. The attack, which resulted in significant casualties, has left the Goza community in mourning. Nigeria's Vice President, Kashim Shatima, is here at the State Specialist Hospital, Maiduguri, with other government functionaries to offer comfort and support to the victims.
As Dele Giwa said, one life lost in cold blood is as gruesome as millions lost in a pogrom. Our hearts goes out to the victims. So far, we have recorded 32 deaths. 42 were brought in from Goza. About 14 have been discharged. About 26 are currently receiving attention. And I want to use this forum to most sincerely register our profound gratitude to the Borno State government, to National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the State Emergency Management Agency and ICRC for rising up to the challenges of the times and giving their best in terms of support.
During his visit, the Vice President Shatima interacted with the patients and medical staff, pledging enhanced support for those affected.
The House of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is with the victims, and he specifically instructed us to come and offer our condolences and commiserations to the victims of this incident. We are here with the Director General of NEMA, with the Minister of Agriculture, with the Minister of Transportation, and of course, the Chief Whip of the Senate is a son of the soil from Goza, so he was here since yesterday. And the acting governor has been working around the clock to provide succor and support to the victims.
The Vice President emphasized the government's commitment to improving security in Borno State and supporting communities devastated by terrorist activities. Families in Goza are still under curfew as they patiently await unfolding development to regain their means of survival. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Earlier, a political and security analyst, Catch Ononuju, spoke to us on this development.
We have to watch to be sure about the pattern. For a very long time, these attacks were arrested. We noticed under the Buhari presidency, the attacks were actually calmed. And now that we're seeing them come back again, it will be in a very coordinated fashion. I think we need to be calm to watch if they have come back again, because I know those that made it possible for these things to be calm during the Buhari presidency may have come back again against the Tinubu presidency due to what we see to be disagreements politically in the ruling party, which is the APC. So what is it that had stopped it during the days of Buhari presidency that had now brought it back in a coordinated form, as we saw? Because not only were they bombed at the wedding ceremony, there was also the coordination that saw the bombing go off at the hospital and also bombing go off at the burial site. So this is a coordinated attack on Goza, a town with a very strong amount of police people, because we know the police college is there, and is a very, very strong security outpost.
Away from that, the Nigerian Customs Service seized a significant cache of arms and ammunition at the Port Harcourt Area 2 Command in One. The Comptroller General, Adewale Adeni, announced on Monday that, acting on intelligence, customs officers inspected a suspicious 40 food container from Turkey on June 21st, 2024, discovering 844 rifles and 112,500 rounds of live ammunition hidden among doors, furniture, plumbing, fittings, and leather bags valued at $4.17 billion. Now, 3 suspects were detained and an investigation is underway. The arms will be handed over to the National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons for further investigation. Now joining us to discuss this is a public affairs analyst, Theophilus Akatuba. Hello, Theophilus. Thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be right in your studios this morning.
All right. So 844 rifles and over 100,000 rounds of live ammunition, was intercepted in Port Harcourt, imported from Turkey. What do you make of this development?
First of all, the interception of these arms points to a great security threat. It underscores the fact that our nation is constantly under threat for such large catch of arms and ammunitions to be imported in one swoop. Also points to the fact that there's been a lax, for us to be so bedeviled by waves of kidnapping, insurgency, armed robbery. It means that these particular people, these non-state actors, are being supplied requirements in arms. And there is something must be done. Is also we need to look at the fact that this arm came from Turkey. It points to an established route, because you see, we hear that from the Sahara and Libya, the Sahel, that the arms were coming in there, smuggled by petty people who move around. But you can see this is quite audacious, coming in container and through a port in Port Harcourt.
Well, Theophilus, now
yes.
This is also coming to light just days after the bombing incident in Borno State that, has actually claimed 32 lives so far. Now, what does this large seizure mean for the country's overall strategy, especially when it comes to addressing insecurity and violent crime?
Yeah, first of all, it means that there should be more vigilance. We're happy that they said they got intelligence reports. This traveled all the way from Turkey. What about the ones that are coming through the borders in small numbers? So it shows that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We must commend the customs for being vigilant and for responding. This is one in the midst of many. It means that much more work needs to be done. People need to get involved. It's not just only about the agencies. If the customs did not intercept this, just imagine all of this entering the system in the hands of criminals. It means there'll be violent crime, criminality, and even political thuggery at the height of it. So there's a lot that needs to be done. We need to also look at regulation. We need to look at a lot of other areas. For example, custom efficiency is important. Customs, whoever works in the custom should see their role, the importance of their role in ensuring the security of the nation. And so my thought is that there must be improvement in for regional stability. This sharing of intelligence must be taken to a new level so that anytime something is moving from one place to the other, we get the information in time and our people can intercept it.
Very
that's
important,
what I think about.
Very important to arrest it head on before it becomes something more. Now, but what impact would you say that this would have on the proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria? And how will it affect the operations of criminal groups in the country?
Well, first, once this has happened, it sends a signal to the criminal gangs and those who are involved in arms, illicit arms trading, that, look, intelligence is up, vigilance is up, it's going to, check them. But when you have a society where crime is prevalent, where people want to make quick gains and quick profit, the unscrupulous ones never relent. They always look for new routes, new openings where there are weaknesses. So my thought is that there is going to be some impact. However, we must not let down our guards. Security agencies, immigration, customs, all those who man our borders should know that this is one catch. More could still be on their way here because it has been an established route for long. This is not the first time that such is coming. A lot has filtered in, and more may still be on their way. And so it's time for us to be much more vigilant than we have ever been.
All right, Theophilus. Now, while investigation is still ongoing, the customs actually said that, 3 suspects have been detained. Now, in your opinion, just before we let you go, what steps would you say the government should take to investigate and prosecute those responsible from the illegal arms shipment? And we know it's not just those 3 that, were arrested. It goes far above or even higher than that.
When you look at the value of the consignment, the duty they should have paid. This is not an operation for a few little guys. What we have seen is that in the past, we've seen armed interceptions like this. What we did not see was the prosecution of the people. I thought by now, the custom agent that cleared it, the people that received the consignment, every of those people should have had their names on the screen. But telling us 3 people have been intercepted is not enough, because if the agencies do not do well, at the end of the day, they might see one big name, and then the case will die and say that we celebrated the interception, but we didn't find anyone prosecuted and jailed. We must know who and who imported it, who is the owner of the consignment, who contracted who to clear it, who authorized the clearing. We need to get all that. I am not satisfied yet with just 3 being arrested and in detention.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Theophilus, for giving us your time and also speaking to us on this.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, there will be more security matters in the course of the bulletin. For now, we go on a short break. Stay tuned. Let's talk health. When government prioritizes healthcare, the people are not only healthy, they're alive and happy, and this results in an improved economy. Recently, Nigeria's Minister of State for Health and Social Welfare, Dr. Tunji Alausa, canvassed for a reduction in medical tourism to strengthen the nation's healthcare sector, reiterating the government's commitment to recruiting and nurturing skilled healthcare professionals. However, stakeholders see health entrepreneurship as key to reversing medical tourism by Nigerians and unlocking healthcare value chains. Now, joining us to discuss the importance of healthcare entrepreneurship is Dr. Chijoke Mbelu, CEO, Afri Health Expo Nigeria Limited. Hello, Doctor. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
All right, so can you elaborate on the impact of medical tourism on Nigeria's healthcare sector and the economy?
Well, the impact of medical tourism on our healthcare system and economy is enormous. I can't sit here this morning to start enumerating and counting them. It's quite huge because it affects both the patients and the providers. Because when people are leaving, it's also affecting those taking care of, those who have invested huge amount of money to get medical equipment to see them. So they are losing money. And it's not all the time that those people who travel out there come back better. And to worsen it all, some of them travel to procure or to look for things that could be done here, thereby spending and wasting the scarce resources, financial resources or dollars that we don't have in the country. Okay, spending a lot of money that could have been saved or used here to procure those services they go out there to look for. So it's quite enormous.
So how do you think that, health entrepreneurship can help reverse medical tourism?
Oh, yes. Healthcare entrepreneurship is all about healthcare business. If healthcare business is doing well, small investors will come in. People will want to key into it. People want to put in their money, knowing fully well that they are going to recoup their money. And by so doing, even those outside, that's exactly what happened in India. Back then, when a lot of people, healthcare providers left India, and Indians started started marketing, started talking about healthcare business. and investors started coming in. Those that left started coming back. And I see that playing out in Lagos, because a couple of guys who have left are now coming back because investors are now putting money. And I think I give credit to the state government. I give credit to the governor and the Commissioner of Health, who is so passionate, because they have tried to make, to provide conducive environment and provided the policies, okay, and laws that encouraged people. Because if the environment is not good, if we don't have adequate policies and laws that will encourage people, then people will not come. Okay, so people are coming back to Lagos today because there is peace, there is security, you know, and the government has also provided conducive environment.
All right, Doctor. Now, speaking about those laws and policies, how can we ensure, you know, retention and development of talent in the sector? Because, you know, we've seen situations where most of our citizens travel out for healthcare, and also, you know, most of our healthcare professionals as well, you know, travel out for greener pastures. So how can we ensure retention and development of talent?
Yes, another way of doing that, of course, government have to make healthcare a priority, okay? By so doing, allocate more money to healthcare in their annual budget. Because if you don't pay people well, for instance, I think that's one other factor, one other reason that makes people leave the country. If you don't pay them well, they will want to go out, okay, to seek for greener pastures. So I think the current budgetary allocation, or let me just say, I'm not sure, but it has been quite poor, you know, quite bad, maybe less than 5%, as against the WHO recommended 10 to 15%. Okay, so if government should allocate more money to healthcare and increase salaries of those working, grant loans, okay, soft loans, grants to private providers, okay, so that their business will now grow bigger and better, and they will be able to pay those doctors working for them. Okay, those young doctors who are working for them, most of them feel bad, and that's why you see them writing exams, and once they pass their exams, they leave. Okay, so if government puts more money to healthcare, and private doctors get more equipment, and teaching hospitals and federal hospitals, state hospitals pay better salaries, I'm sure people will be retained. Nobody will want to go out, because there is no place like home. Nigeria is good. I've been to a lot of countries, and I see even some of our doctors in Canada who have been there for 8 years, 10 years, they have not passed their exams, and they are not practicing. And they're just there doing other jobs. So there is no place like home. So if government should put more money to healthcare, I'm sure a lot of people will want to come back and practice here.
Indeed.
And remain here.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mbelu, for joining us this morning to speak on this.
Thank you.
Away from that, in Nigeria, a generation once hailed as future leaders find themselves struggling with economic hardship and political marginalization. Now, the country's young population and economists weigh in on these concerning issues. Take a listen.
Halfway into the year, the promise of youth-driven change, echoing through decades, remains largely unfulfilled as young Nigerians confront various challenges in shaping their country's future. While this frantic scare continually creeps in, future leaders are left with difficult living conditions.
Things are very, very high, and it has been affecting things a lot. Like, the amount my parents usually send to me as allowance before can literally do nothing now. And they have to increase the price, and it's still not doing anything because everything has skyrocketed. And you cannot be an auntie in peace in this Nigeria again, because then they'll give me 100 naira and I'm like, auntie, thank you. But now if I give my cousins 100 naira, they will look at me and be like, are you sure you are okay?
The country is not getting any better. The way it is going, it is not getting any better anytime soon. So everybody should just face fronts. Probably when it comes to election period, we have to put our lives in it. Because if we did not put our lives, nothing will change.
The dynamic Nigerian economy is a major weighing factor for most of its citizens. Due to the constant economic challenges, people are forced to adjust, prompting economists' reactions.
Inflation in Nigeria, as I speak with you, is 33.94%, approximately 34%. The actual objective on inflation is 6 to 9%. Unfortunately, Nigeria has not been able to meet targets. Perhaps this would have led to hunger, deprivation, poverty in the land. Our first solution will be to have a national economic development plan that will give direction to economic policies of government. As I talk to you now, there is no single direction in terms of economy. Everybody is doing their own. Fiscal authority are trying theirs, trade authority are trying, fiscal authority are also trying their own policies. I think President Tinubu should charge his team to come with one single document which would be tagged National Economic Development Plan, where all state governors will plug into it and local government.
To achieve economic prosperity and sustainable development, a collective effort from the government and citizens is necessary. Chidinma Ona, reporting for News Central.
Some indigents of Anyocha Oshimili Federal Constituency in Delta State, South Nigeria, have appealed for inclusion of their area into the Southeast Development Commission bill awaiting President Bola Tinubu's assent. Their demands were conveyed through a peaceful protest at Government House, Asaba. News Central correspondent Austin Azu completes the report.
Following the Senate passage of the Southeast Development Commission bill to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation account for the construction and rehabilitation of roads, houses and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the civil war, some indigents of Anyocha Ochimili Federal Constituency in Delta State have staged a peaceful protest to the Government House Asaba to express their demands. The protesters said the peaceful protest was to appeal to President Tinubu to consider inclusion of the constituency into the Southeast Development Commission because of the affinity between Southeast and the Anyoma area. They said as a result of the security challenge in the eastern parts of the country, most businessmen and their businesses have relocated to Anyocha Ochimili, hence the need for the area to have a share and the commission expected to champion development in the Southeast.
Most of the Easterners, they live in this our Anyoma, this Oshimili Anyoma constituency. So we believe that whatever, because they are living with us, we are all living where like we are cohabiting, we are living together. So we believe that we're supposed to partake, we are supposed to be a partaker of this development.
We are included in this development commission to help to curb the menace of insecurity in our place and also bring about development and improvement in the standard of living of the people, including the youths. That's why we are here this morning.
The Anyocha Oshimili are also begging him to include Anyocha Oshimili into the Southeast Development Commission.
Addressing the protesters, the Chief of Staff, Government House Asaba Johnson Urijo, thanked them for their peaceful conduct and called on them to channel their agitation to the senator representing Delta North at the Senate, Ned Nwoko, and the member representing Anyocha Oshimili in the House of Representatives, Ngozi Okoli, to enable their demands get the necessary attention.
I have seen your concerns. Apparently, it's not a concern for the state government, it's a concern for the federal government. But whatever it is, I'm going to pass on your message to the governor, and probably we can take it off from there.
Commenting on the protest, the member representing Anyocha Ochimili in the House of Representatives, Okoli, called on President Bola Tinubu to consider the inclusion of his constituency in the Development Commission before assenting to the bill. He said the federal government has not done much in the infrastructure and socio-economic development of Anyocha Ochimili, pointing out that the Delta State government alone cannot shoulder the development of his constituency.
Get to that Asaba was at the heart of the civil war. A lot of our people were actually killed during the civil war. So it will be a kind of consolation or compensation to put Asaba and environs as a neutral simile in the commission.
In another development, the senator representing Delta North, Ned Nwoko, is currently leading the agitation for the creation of Anioma State out of the current Delta State and some parts of Onitsha. In Asaba, for News Central, Austin Azu.
Thank you, Austin. Coming up, 2 humanitarian workers missing in DR Congo after attack on convoy. We'll bring you details after the break. We move to Central Africa, where a humanitarian convoy has been attacked in the war-ravaged eastern DR Congo, an area blighted by clashes between M23 rebels and government forces. The convoy was said to be leaving a combat zone and heading north when it was attacked near the town of Butembo in the Lubero territory by youths who suspected rebel infiltration. Now, a UK organization, Tier Fund, said in a statement that 2 members of staff are still missing following the attack that took place in North Kivu province, while other sources said the attack had led to 2 deaths. The charity said their vehicles were burnt and destroyed in the attack. As the newly elected cabinet ministers, together with their deputies, are to be sworn in on Wednesday, political parties, civil organizations and citizens at large have reacted strongly to President Cyril Ramaphosa's bloated cabinet, which was unveiled on Sunday. The cabinet of the Government of National Unity has also received mixed reactions from labor federations. The cabinet by President Cyril Ramaphosa accommodates 11 parties in the Government of National Unity in spite of the fact that there's been a lot of support for reducing rather than increasing the executive. The cabinet has grown much bigger than countries which have bigger economies and population size. South Africa cabinet now has from 30 to 32 portfolios, and there are now 43 deputy ministers, up from 36. This is larger than that of the United States of America at 26, the United Kingdom at 24, Japan at 20, and Germany, which has a mere 17. To discuss this, we are joined by Sydney Monagotla, President Save South Africa Civil Movement. Hello, Sydney. Thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Good morning, and good morning to your viewers.
Good morning. Good morning. All right, so Sydney, what do you think is the main issue with the current size of the South African cabinet, and how does it, impact the country's governance and also the economy?
Look, with an ailing economy like ours, South Africa, we believe that actually we expected that the president will take that into consideration when appointing ministers and deputy ministers. I mean, for the first time in the history of our democracy, where we're seeing such bloated cabinet, we have 33 deputy ministers. And look, even today, we still don't understand the role of deputy ministers, because even when the minister is not present, the deputy minister cannot act on behalf of the or during the absence of the minister. So their positions are not justified, and even appointing more of them into the cabinet, it is not justified by the president. We believe that even this deputy minister positions needs to be scrapped. We don't need them in our system, because they don't, I mean, they are not relevant. I don't want to use the word useless, but I mean, we've got people who cannot even play a role of a minister in the absence of a minister.
All right,
so
now,
for us,
yeah, Sydney. Now, speaking on positions, especially that of the deputy ministers not being justifiable, do you think that the current size is a result of nepotism, political patronage, or a genuine attempt to address social and economic challenges in the country, considering that it is a government of national unity?
Look, you see, it's for the very first time where we saw such a powerless president. And the size of this cabinet, it is solemnly because the president wanted to accommodate other people so that they can to come and form part of the government of national unity. There is no justification other than to say that it was only dispatching patronage to other political parties and other individuals within the ANC to accommodate them in order to secure his seat of president, because he was guaranteed that you are going to elect you as a president, and only if you offer this as these following positions. So the president and such, we view that as an indictment to the people of South Africa, because it means the power of the president, as per the constitution, was taken away. People decided before that they want this position and this position and this position. And in terms of the constitution of the country, the president is the one who's appointing ministers. But we saw opposition parties dictating to the president that he must appoint this minister and this minister into the following portfolios. So it means in this instance, the powers of the president were outsourced to the other opposition parties.
All right. Therefore, now, Sydney, now taking a look at your concerns, what would you say are some of the key areas, where you think that the cabinet could be streamlined, and what potential savings, could be achieved by reducing its size?
Look, there was a Department of Agriculture and Land Reform, but it has been divided into two departments now. And the reason for that, there is no justification for that. There was a Department for Higher Education and Innovation. Now it has been split into two departments. And for what reasons, we don't know. And so we believe that So
are you saying like such departments should completely be scrapped, or it shouldn't be split into two in the first place? It should just be left as one department?
Yes, in order to reduce the size of cabinet, the president should have left the portfolios as they were, or should have scrapped others. Which is so, for an example, the portfolio on public enterprises was scrapped, and the functions of that portfolio was spread amongst the existing department. So we don't see a reason why should such department could have been divided into two, or because even in other portfolios, the deputy ministers, they've appointed two deputy ministers in many portfolios. And for what reason, you don't understand. But you can simply conclude that it is simply because they wanted to accommodate their own comrades.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sydney, for your take on this topic. We appreciate you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, in East Africa, the National Rights Watchdog in Kenya says a total of 39 people were killed in anti-government protests that erupted last month over planned tax hikes. The tally is double what the government has admitted so far, with President William Ruto saying only 19 people had died in the protest, insisting he was not to blame. The updated toll was announced by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights on the eve of an expected new round of demonstrations led mostly by Gen Z activists against the government of President William Ruto. Fresh protests have been called by activists starting from Tuesday, despite Ruto announcing last week that the bill containing the contentious tax hikes would be withdrawn. Still ahead, President Biden blasts landmark Supreme Court ruling on immunity. We'll bring you details after the break. Outside the African continent, President Joe Biden has warned that the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark ruling on presidential immunity sets a dangerous precedent that Donald Trump would exploit if elected in November. The conservative-dominated High Court ruled that Trump and all presidents enjoy absolute immunity from criminal prosecutions for official acts taken while in office, but can still face criminal penalties for unofficial acts. Trump is facing criminal charges over his attempts to overturn his 2020 election loss to Biden, but that trial had been put on hold while the Supreme Court considered his immunity claims. In business, petroleum marketers fear that petrol from Dangote Petrochemical Refinery may be priced higher than expected when it hits the market in 2 to 3 weeks. The refinery, with a 650,000 capacity, has struggled to source feedstock locally from international oil companies, forcing it to import crude oil from the U.S. and other countries at a higher cost. This has made its diesel and aviation fuel less attractive to local marketers. Concerns were raised that the high import costs would increase production costs, potentially hiking the ex-depot price of Dangote PMS. The company announced that the petrol would be available in the Nigerian market by the 3rd week of July. Now, in the world of sports, 6 Nigerian wrestlers have been unveiled ahead of the Paris 2024 Olympics. Ogunsonye Christiana, Kolawole Esther, Odunayo Adekoroye, Anna Ruben, Blessing Oborududu, and Mutua Ashton will compete in the Olympics Games in Paris in respective weight classes. Now, President of the Nigerian Wrestling Federation, Dr. Daniel Ughelli, during the unveiling said the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris will provide another opportunity for the nation's wrestlers to rewrite the country's story. Dr. Ughelli also stated that the federation is going to the Games to compete and not just for mere participation, stating that the Wrestling Federation has gone beyond participating in the tournament, but rather winning laurels. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu plans to appeal dismissal of his 1 billion naira rights violation suit against the federal government. We also told you that ministers and their deputies in President Ramaphosa's cabinet to be sworn in South Africa. Finally, you heard that Rights Group says 39 persons were killed during tax hike demonstrations in Kenya. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Dashen, Usman.